The $12 million contradiction. Imagine buying a ranch in January. 5,000 acres, 500 breeding cows, trucks, tractors, corrals, wells, fencing, and a $4.8 million mortgage secured against the land. The operation controls more than $12 million of assets. In a strong cattle price year, it generates roughly $1.27 million of revenue. After operating costs and land debt, the owner keeps about $123,000. One severe drought can turn that into a loss of more than $200,000. How can someone control a $12 million ranch, generate more than $1 million in revenue, and still struggle to earn a comfortable living? From the road, the answer is invisible. At sunrise, the ranch looks like permanent wealth. Grass moves under the wind, cows spread across the horizon. Calves will be sold in the fall, and the land may appreciate while the owner sleeps. We will follow the money through one cow, one summer, one mortgage, and one sale day, revealing where cattle revenue disappears, why inherited and purchased ranches are different businesses, and why the largest ranch fortunes often come from something other than cattle. The first clue is a single cow. One cow, one annual paycheck. A breeding cow consumes grass, minerals, medicine, water, and labor throughout the year. Revenue appears only if she becomes pregnant, delivers safely, and raises a calf that survives, reaches marketable weight, and sells at an acceptable price. Assume a successful calf reaches 550 pounds and sells for an illustrative $4.25 per pound. That calf produces about $2,338 of gross revenue. But a 500-cow herd does not necessarily sell 500 calves. If the ranch markets 450, the remaining cows still consumed resources without producing a saleable calf. Averaged across the entire breeding herd, calf revenue falls to roughly $2,104 per cow before any operating expense is paid. The cow eats for 12 months. The rancher is paid once, and only if biology, weather, survival, weight, and market price all cooperate. Multiply that uncertainty by 500. The calf check can look enormous when it arrives, but the cattle are not the most expensive part of this ranch. The grass factory. Using USDA's 2025 National Pasture Benchmark of $1,920 per acre, 5,000 acres represent $9.6 million of land. That is a national reference, not an appraisal. Real values vary enormously with water, productivity, improvements, minerals, and location. Still, it reveals the central imbalance. USDA's National Pasture Cash Rent average was $15.50 per acre in 2025. Across 5,000 acres, that is only $77,500 of annual benchmark rent against $9.6 million of underlying land value. The ranch is land-rich long before it becomes cash-rich. The visible product is cattle. The underlying factory is grass. Rain grows forage. Forage maintains cow condition. Cow condition affects pregnancy. Pregnancy creates calves. Calf survival and weaning weight create sale revenue. Now run the chain backward. No rain means less grass. Less grass means purchased hay. Poor cow condition can reduce conception. Calves may wean lighter. Cows may be sold. And fewer breeding cows mean less potential revenue next year. Drought does not merely increase this year's feed bill. It can force the owner to sell the living inventory that was supposed to produce next year's income. For our owner, the pressure begins quietly. On Monday, a water pump fails. On Wednesday, a damaged fence must be rebuilt. On Friday night, a cow needs help during a difficult birth. On Sunday, the forecast removes the rain expected to grow summer forage. The following week, regional hay prices rise. None of these problems is large enough to destroy the ranch alone. The danger is that they all arrive before the calves are sold. The bills arrive first. The ranch pays expenses continuously but receives much of its income seasonally. Payroll, fuel, insurance, repairs, feed, and loan payments cannot wait for the fall sale. Scale can soften some of that pressure. USDA research using 2018 data estimated total economic costs of about $910 per cow for operations with 500 or more cows, compared with $2,099 per cow for operations with 20 to 49 cows. These are historical analytical figures, not a current budget, but they show how larger operations spread equipment, management, and labor across more animals. A small ranch may look profitable because the family supplies labor, capital, and patience without charging the business a market price for any of them. Many small cow-calf operations survive partly through off-farm wages, retirement income, inherited property, or unpaid family work. Our hypothetical ranch has scale. What it does not have is free land. The debt trap. Place two neighboring ranches on the same screen. Ranch A has been in one family for generations. It runs 500 cows on debt-free land. Ranch B was purchased this year. It runs the same cattle under the same rainfall, sells calves at the same price, and has similar operating costs. But Ranch B financed half of a $9.6 million land value over 25 years at an illustrative 6.5% interest rate. Its annual land debt service is approximately $394,000. One ranch inherited the land basis. The other inherited an interest payment. Everything above the soil can be identical while the financial outcome is completely different. Before debt, the base case operation produces approximately $517,000 of cash. Ranch A can use that money for family income, reserves, improvements, herd expansion, or future drought. Ranch B sends roughly 3/4 of it to the lender. The land may appreciate, but appreciation does not buy hay unless the owner borrows or sells. And debt is not the only force capable of breaking a ranch. When the rain stops, now the summer fails, pasture growth slows, the owner buys hay earlier than planned. Cows lose condition. Some calves are sold at 500 pounds instead of 550. The marketable calf crop falls from 450 to 400. To reduce feed demand, the owner sells additional breeding cows. That creates cash today, but it shrinks tomorrow's production engine. The drought scenario still produces roughly $1.14 million of revenue because extra cull cow sales temporarily disguise the damage. Operating costs rise to an illustrative $957,000, mainly because feed and drought-related expenses increase. After the $394,000 land payment, the ranch loses about $211,000. The ranch does not only lose money this year, it enters the following year with fewer cows capable of producing revenue, and the same land payment waiting for them. The grass may return next season, but the herd does not rebuild overnight. Replacement heifers must be retained, bred, and carried through calving before their offspring generate cash. One bad summer becomes a multi-year recovery. The Wagoner warning. Debt is not the only force that can break a ranch. Sometimes the land becomes so valuable that the family can no longer afford to keep it together. The W.T. Wagoner Ranch in Texas covered more than 510,000 acres. Its assets included land, cattle, horses, agriculture, and significant oil reserves. It was listed at $725 million and sold to Stan Kroenke in 2016 after conflicts among heirs and more than 25 years of litigation. The final transaction terms were not publicly disclosed. The Wagoner's value could not be explained by cattle alone. Extreme ranch wealth often comes from controlling land, water, minerals, agriculture, and future choices behind the same fence. The case shows that cattle may generate annual cash while other rights create generational wealth, and that even a successful ranch can fail as a family ownership structure, making every acre work twice. A resilient owner tries to create additional income without damaging the resource supporting the cattle. Hunting can generate seasonal, high-margin income where wildlife and demand exist. Branded beef may capture a higher price, but it creates a second business involving processing, marketing, and distribution. Energy or mineral leases can be highly profitable, but only certain properties possess those rights. Additional revenue is not automatically easy profit. Each activity can bring new capital, regulation, and management demands. The goal is not to attach every possible business to the ranch. It is to monetize the acre more than once without damaging the resource that makes every revenue stream possible. This optionality helps explain why land values and cattle profits can move independently. USDA counted 86.2 million cattle and calves on U.S. farms on January 1, 2026, including 27.6 million beef cows. Tight herd numbers may support cattle prices, but they do not guarantee that a heavily financed ranch will produce free cash. Now we can finally see where the $1.27 million disappears. Where the $1.27 million goes, Our illustrative ranch sells 450 calves at £550 and $4.25 per pound, producing approximately $1.052 million. Cull animals at $115,000. Hunting, grazing, and miscellaneous income at $100,000. Total revenue, approximately $1.267 million. Operating expenses consume about $750,000, divided among herd costs, labor, land and water, equipment, maintenance, transport, and administration. Cash before land debt, approximately $517,000. Annual land debt service, approximately $394,000. Remaining pre-tax cash after debt, approximately $123,000. More than $12 million can be tied to the operation, yet the owner's remaining cash may be smaller than the salary of the professional who approved the loan, and that is the strong price case. Stress test 1. Calf and cull prices fall 15% while most costs remain. The ranch does not require a market collapse to lose money. That decline turns the $123,000 surplus into an estimated $52,000 loss. Stress test 2. The severe drought scenario. Fewer calves, lighter weights, higher feed costs, more breeding cows sold, less future productive capacity. Estimated loss after debt, approximately $211,000. The same base case ranch without the land mortgage would have generated more than $500,000 before tax and family withdrawals. The cattle are identical. The debt is not. Final verdict. Owning a ranch can be an excellent long-term business when the operator controls water, protects forage, maintains enough scale, limits debt, and builds cash reserves before the weather demands them. It becomes fragile when expensive land is financed using optimistic cattle prices, when the family depends on one annual sale, or when drought forces the herd to be liquidated at the worst possible time. The owner controls breeding, stocking rates, costs, maintenance, marketing, and land stewardship. The owner does not control rainfall, wildfire, disease, interest rates, or the price offered on sale day. A ranch is not simply a cattle business. It is a leveraged claim on grass, water, biology, and time, and every one of them can refuse to cooperate. The cattle generate cash, the land stores wealth, and debt determines how long the owner is allowed to wait. A ranch can make a family rich across generations while keeping every generation cash poor along the way. The herd is what people see. The real business is surviving long enough to keep the land.